Well, hello out there. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are joining us from, either right now, live or during the replay. I'm Annette Richmond. Welcome to the Smarter Career Moves LinkedIn Live Show. I'm so excited to be here with my friend and colleague, Sara Timm, who, I adore you, Sara. So I met you a few years ago when you were membership chair of the
Mhm.
NRWA, and now you are the president of the
Yes.
NRWA. For people that don't know you, tell us a little bit about you and what you do.
Well, I am a professional resume writer and the president of the NRWA, as you expressed. I've been writing for over 22 years, and I now own two businesses, one in Dallas and one in Colorado. And I help job seekers with their resumes, their LinkedIn profiles, cover letters, and to help expedite their job searches.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. And, thanks again for bringing up this topic, for choosing this topic for our discussion today. I and so many other people have read about the great resignation, and then it was as people became sort of feeling that they wanted to have more flexibility in their lives. It became the great reshuffle,
Yep.
which I've talked about, with other guests on my show. And then, there is this whole idea of the great relocation. And I did a little bit of research before the show today, and I was looking at an article from Forbes from March 2022, and they noted that there's been a lot of moving from sort of urban areas to more rural areas, partly to do with the focus on, health and well-being that has
Yes.
really come out as a result of the of COVID, of being, in the
Right.
pandemic and people just being aware. I have sort of a two-part question. First, what is your take on the whole idea of moving from urban to suburban? And I think you can speak personally, maybe even to that.
Yes.
Um, and also, the idea of people moving to smaller communities because that it enables them to lower, their rent, household expenses, and then of course the
Right.
overall cost of living. If you can start with the whole urban to suburban, and that'd be
Yes,
great.
yes. Well, we moved from Dallas to Colorado Springs, Colorado. And while Colorado Springs isn't necessarily smaller, it is a half a million person city. It is, it's more, there's a lot more to do. There's mountains and nature and abounds. It's everywhere. So that is what attracted us to Colorado Springs and what attracts a lot of people to those suburban areas, those more rural areas where they can get out, they can experience nature. So I definitely understand that. That was part of the reason, a big reason why we moved was to find a more active lifestyle, and we found it.
Yeah,
And
I
would you repeat your second
Yeah,
question?
sure. No, I just want to mention that, I am ashamed to say that I am not outdoors more. I look longingly all summer at we have a huge yard with a patio and a deck and even an above ground pool. And I sort of like, oh, at the beginning of the summer, I'm going to spend time outdoors, and I just don't do it. But, but the thing is that, they say that it is very good for people to be outdoors.
Yes, yes, and Colorado really pushes that. You know, it's the healthiest state in the union, and that had a lot to do with our decision. And we found it. We found exactly what we were looking for. So it worked out for us. As far as cost of living, maybe lower, not necessarily. It's probably in line with what we came from. So it didn't go up, but it didn't go down either. But the payoffs for us were definitely worth it. But you know, if we had moved to some place like Iowa or Ohio, we could have really had a much higher lifestyle, so to speak, as far as home and that kind of thing. But the payoffs were worth it coming to Colorado.
Yeah, well, that was really the second part, of my question, the idea of having, people moving to have a lower cost of living. I
Mhm.
live here in the Northeast in an area that is, very expensive. I live in Connecticut and the area where I live is
Yeah.
very expensive, but there are, even just other parts of our state where, the cost of living is less. And based on your experience working with the clients that you work with, because you work with people
Mhm.
kind of all over the country,
I do.
have you found that or heard that from the people that you've been working with, or just in general, that people are moving to smaller communities to, lower their cost of living?
Yes, yes, that is a reason. The a different lifestyle is a reason. The cost of living is a reason, and family. A lot of families are. I've noticed families are gathering back together again. They're not as spread out as they were. They're coming back and gathering again in locales, in the same locales, and that's interesting to see, actually.
Yeah, that is interesting. And one of the other a little sort of bit of data that I found when I was doing some research, and this is from a storage company, which they kind of the they track people who are moving and things like that. And the number that they gave was 39% of Americans who moved during the pandemic moved so due to remote work, and the idea that they were working from home and now you had multiple people working from home. I know here, we have a very small house. I have a spare bedroom is my home. I'm sorry, my office, and my
Yes.
husband's is in the finished basement. So, there's only the two of us, but that people were looking for more space and also the opportunity to have more private spaces.
Yes, yes, and I think that that's important. It's is to have what you where you feel comfortable, where you feel best, and that and the pandemic did offer that opportunity with the remote work. Now I've always worked from home, and so that's what inspired me is like, look at all these people that are moving to where they want to live, the lifestyle that they want to have because they're working remote. Well, I've worked remote always. Now, we did have to find my husband a job. He did have to resign his old job and find a new job here. But being a resume writer and a job search professional, that we weren't very worried about that. But what's important is he went from working nights and weekends and eating dinner at 9 o'clock at night. And now he works 9 to 5. We're hiking mountains on weekends. He's home for dinner by 6 o'clock. Like I said, it's just a different lifestyle. Now, there are things to consider: cost of living, taxes, just different things that you have to look at. And we did do a due diligence trip. We came out and we looked at it. We looked at homes and neighborhoods. We considered the tax implications. We decided to rent in case we decided to go back. And within, I'd say, gosh, 2 months, we decided we were going to be here to stay. So, next year we're going to invest in a new home in Colorado. And so it's a big step. It was a big, scary step, but the payoff was definitely worth it. So I say to people and to my clients, if you're thinking about it, do your homework, but it's definitely doable. Definitely doable.
Yeah, if you could give us, what are the three things that you think are most important for people to sort of research and consider, before they decide they're going to make a major move like that?
Housing is number one. We got lucky, and that's pretty much why we decided on Colorado Springs, because it's a very transient city. People are always moving in and moving out. So there's always a good supply of houses. Now that may not be the case everywhere. Say Boston
Mhm.
or Los Angeles, where the supply of houses is not as good. So that's something that you need to consider. In Texas, we didn't have state income tax. So when I moved to Colorado, I had to consider the fact that we would be paying state income tax, but that did that did balance off with property taxes. So that was a good thing. And then make sure that you like the area. I know you, Nanette, know somebody that moved and ended up not liking where they relocated. So it is important to visit the area before you go there and make sure that it's the kind of community that you do want to live in.
It's interesting that you say that. I have spoken to um, two people in the last few months. One person who he and his wife are planning to move to France sometime in the next year or so, but she has family there. But I also spoke with a career coach who, when I was speaking with him, he was on my show. I thought he was in Texas. Come to find out, no, he actually lives in Mexico. But
Oh
he, but
wow.
but he and his wife, um, they spent time there. They went and they spent
Mhm,
some time there. They vacationed there often, and then, like you, they decided to move there, sort of, temporarily. They moved there. They rented their home
mhm,
in Texas, and they did that for a couple of years before they
mhm.
decided, yes, this is for us, and we are going to move there. But I think it's so fascinating because unlike you and unlike many people, I've lived in the same area, in the same county, my
Wow.
entire life. So I know, it's kind of it's
Well,
kind of sad in a way, but, I
well,
had visions of moving into the city, New York City, which is,
oh
like
yeah.
60 minutes from where I am. And then, I met my now husband and we bought a house, and that was the end of moving into the city. So, that's kind of my story. But I also found something which I thought was interesting, and it was an article in Vox Media, and they had some data from a research company, Chorus, and they found that nearly 6 million fewer people moved in 2021. And their thinking behind that was that people that were going to move due to COVID had already done so. So do you think that this great relocation is kind of over or subsiding? What's your
I
take on that?
do. I do. The housing issue and the raising of the interest rates and there's a lot less remote jobs now. People are starting to return to the office. Companies are asking them to return to the office. So I do see that ending, slowing down big time. I do.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, which
So
is sad.
I'm sorry?
I think it's a little bit sad. I think everybody should live where they want to live. Love where you live.
Yeah, there are ways around it. I know I have a friend, and she lived relatively close to where she was working, but she was working remote, but it was sort of an unofficial, sort of loose, yes, I work remotely. And she and her wife actually moved, so it would be, untenable to go into the office. It was now like 3 hours away.
Yes,
And
right,
when management changed, she had to go in and pitch the idea that, I'm more productive for
right.
you, right? And if people
Mhm.
are, what do you have any suggestions of how people can pitch that to the company if, they are wanting to the company's wanting to have them come back into the
Right,
office?
right.
Are there any suggestions that you have to, renegotiate, either working from home or having a hybrid situation?
Well, I mean, if you moved 3 hours away, then that's a great argument for why you need to work remotely. Excuse me. So, but you pitch it to that way. Show your productivity. Show how much better that you have worked and how much calmer you are. Just overall, your work life balance is better, and you want to stay with the company, but they're going to have to make some concessions, and they'll either let you go or not. But this is a great job market right now. There's a lot of jobs open. There's a lot of
Mhm.
people looking for jobs. I would not be afraid to stand your ground if you do want to stay working remote.
Yeah, but also to make it about how it benefits the company.
Yes,
The
yes,
benefit for
because you're
them
go
rather than
right.
the benefit for you. Like if you're going in for a raise, it has to be
Right,
all about, what great work you're doing, not, oh, we just bought a house and I need more money.
right, right. Yes, absolutely,
So
absolutely.
it's all the spin that you put on it.
Mhm.
Um, so I would be remiss. I have you here. You have a lot of experience. I know that have certifications for resume writing and LinkedIn profile optimization and all that cool stuff. And so how would you say people should approach writing, sort of their resume if they're wanting to relocate and they're tracking job searching in parts of the country maybe where they don't live yet, and how does that affect sort of their resume, maybe their LinkedIn profile?
Well, I would, if a candidate is looking to relocate, I would put that at the top of the resume. I don't put the address of the candidate anymore for privacy reasons because the resume just is out there now. But I will put after the phone number and the email address, the LinkedIn profile, I'll put relocating to, and whatever the city is that they are looking to relocate, and then I'll put a target month in whatever month.
Mhm,
And then
mhm.
it's important in that situation to have a cover letter accompany the resume to outline that you are moving, why you're moving, and you're available for an interview in person on this date because you're moving. So I recommend outlining that on the resume and then accompanying a cover letter that outlines the situation. Now, on LinkedIn, it depends. If you have a passive job search, and because you don't want your company to know that you're job searching, then you can go to the background settings that the recruiters see. They've got this really robust platform for recruiters on LinkedIn, and you can go to the background settings and enter the cities that you're entertaining so that the recruiters can see that. And then nobody is aware that you are searching for a job from your front facing profile. Now, if it's not a passive job search, it's an active job search, go ahead and put your new city in there, and make it appear that you are already there, and you will get the recruiters coming to you for those jobs too.
Yeah, I love that. I love that you said that. And quite frankly, I hadn't thought of the idea of putting right up at the top, although I have mentioned that in people's summaries. But I think one of the things that really stands out to me, and we have someone here, Paula, thank you for being here. And she says it's very interesting and informative information. So I'm glad that you are finding this helpful. We appreciate it. So the idea that you want the company to know I am moving, not like I want you to hire me because I am going to, and pay for my relocation, that
Right,
you put it
right,
right up front, that it doesn't, I am moving and I'm looking for a job there.
right. Right. And I had a client who did that. They actually lived up here in Castle Rock, and they wanted to move to Texas to be closer to his elderly parents. And that's exactly what we did. We put the address, the relocation at the top of his resume, and he secured a job in Texas.
Yeah, that's great. So my dogs agree with
I
you.
hear
I know
that.
they
Hi,
always,
Emma. Hi,
I know they
Katie.
always like to they love to participate whenever I'm live. They think they're famous. So they are kind of. But anyway, so would you say with the LinkedIn profile, I'm curious, should you put your location, on LinkedIn as the location in your new as it, like if I was going to move now from here to say Boston, should I have
Mhm.
the Boston metro area as my location on LinkedIn?
If you're looking for a job, yes, I would
Okay.
recommend that. Yes. If you're
Okay.
not looking for a job, then if you're moving your company, um, I waited until I established an LLC here in Colorado Springs before I changed my address on my LinkedIn. Now I'm still very active serving the Dallas Fort Worth market. I'm very involved in that. A lot of my clients still come from that market. So now I own two companies and I serve both markets.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
So, and one other thing I want to just touch on really quickly is the idea of job search strategies. Do you have maybe, 3 tips for people that are wanting to job search in a different area than, where they currently reside?
Well, set your job settings in LinkedIn, the emails that come to you for the new city. Reach out to people that you may know there. Connect with recruiters that may be in the area. And then again, visit the area. See what's out there. Get to know people. Join the Chamber of Commerce. There's just so many different ways to build a network in a new place before you actually do the move.
Yeah, so I wanna give a shout out to my friend, my good friend Jillian Whitney, who is stopping by, and, she hears the doggy, so hello to you, Jillian, and hello to Mr. Max as well, and thank you so much for being here with us. So, I wanna ask you something that I love to ask people that are on the show. So what is what do you enjoy most about what you do?
About what I do,
Yeah.
it's very rewarding, Annette. I love opening a resume that's not effective and looking at it and just taking it apart and putting it back together, positioning that candidate perfectly, and hearing, listen, I got 7 interviews in the next week lined up for your resume. I mean, it's our work is life changing. If somebody wants to get promoted or if they desperately need a job after staying at home for 20 years or just any situation, we can help change lives. And it's just, it's very, very rewarding to me. I fell into this profession. I'm glad I did. I'll be here forever. As far as I'm concerned, I love what I do. I can't. And that's the secret to work.
Yeah.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
work, and but I love what I do. And I got involved with the NRWA, as you know, and I learned so much from them. I decided that it's time to give back, and that's why I ran for president, and I was elected president, and I've led them for the last year, and that too has been very rewarding to help bring up a whole new generation of resume writers and LinkedIn profile positioners who are going to change lives.
And, it's so evident. It's so your energy is it's so evident that you really do love, what you do. So, before I ask you for sort of some closing comments, what's something about you that would surprise people?
Oh, I have no vestibular system. My eighth cranial nerve was fried by an autoimmune disorder, and it took half my hearing and all of my balance. And I have worked very hard for the last 11 years to make that not evident to people.
Well, I never knew. I never we have worked, I would say, quite closely for the past, 4 years, 4
Yep,
years,
yep.
and, I would never have noticed that, but, we've talked about, I love this topic, I really do appreciate you, choosing this as for our discussion today, and, we talked about a few different things. Is there anything that I haven't asked you that you would like to add? Something you think is important for people to know about, whatever, um, before we say goodbye?
Just do your due diligence. It's really the most important thing is to do your research. Make sure that the move is what you want to do before you do it, and don't be afraid to have a backup plan, because if you don't like it and it does not fit you, it's not what you were expecting, and you need to go back, have a backup plan just in case. And really do your research on moving companies, because that was a nightmare. And I did a lot of research, Google reviews and everything, and that still didn't work out very well. So I would say get moving company referrals would be really important, is get a referral from somebody that has had a big move. And this is
Oh, oh,
Coco.
oh my goodness. I've heard, I'm sorry, who's that?
That's Coco.
Oh,
That's
hi,
my
Coco.
cocoa beans.
I know your dogs. I don't remember their names though. So
Yeah.
I've heard horror stories as well. My mother, who has been a bit of a nomad, not while I was younger, but since I've been an adult, has had so many bad experiences with moving companies
Yeah.
where you half of your stuff is you just never see it again.
Yeah.
So one other thing that I we have a couple more minutes. What would be a few just general tips that you have for anyone looking for a job, writing their resume, anything that you would want to just share some advice for people who are not necessarily relocating, but just something you could share?
Well, the most important thing in your resume is positioning yourself for the role that you want. And that's done by setting the tone of the resume in the top third section of the resume. So you're going to have after your introduction, your name, you're going to have your title. And it can be the title of the job that you want, not necessarily the title that you have. It can work as an objective because we're taking the objective out of the resume. So if you do have one, take it out and put a title at the top. And then a brand statement. Why do you stand out above the competition? What do you do better than everybody else? And why should their company hire you? And that's your brand statement. And then a summary, which is a highlight of the highlights of your career, what you've done, how you've contributed in throughout your career. And then you lay out the rest of your resume in a hybrid format, paragraphs and bullets with strong accomplishments that start with really good active verbs, and you're going to win. You're going to get that interview.
Well, I thank you so much, Sarah. It has been an absolute pleasure to chat with you as always. And for everyone out there, thank you so much for being with us, whether you are hearing this on, now or on the replay or later on the podcast. So again, thanks so much to everyone who has been here with us. Thank you, Sarah, for joining
Thank you.
me. And for everyone out there, have a great rest of your day.
Bye.